Hello and welcome to the Pete Braley Show. Thank you so much for joining us. What we try to do on this show is shine the spotlight on people that have contributed to making life better here in Greater New Bedford and southeastern Massachusetts. Many of us, myself included, have had a health scare over the years, and part of your recovery may be physical therapy or occupational therapy. My guest today is occupational therapist Ashley Salvail. Ashley, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now you're with Mass General in Boston?
Yes,
Right.
I do home care.
Home care.
Me personally, I cover Taunton, Raynham, Easton, Mansfield, and Norton.
Okay.
But Mass General Brigham is a large home care agency. We cover probably, I don't want to lie, but maybe like close to 70% of the state.
Okay.
60 to 70% of the state, yeah.
All right. Almost 10 years ago, I had a stroke, and I will be forever grateful to Ashley and her colleagues for helping me to recover and helping me get through those first scary weeks. So that was when you were at Charlton Hospital in the Fall River, right?
Yes, they have a unit, Southeast Rehab, right in the hospital. That's great.
Yeah. All right, we'll get into what you do and all that in just a few moments. But I wanted to go back a bit. You're from the area, right?
I am.
Yeah. Went to Bishop Sang.
Yep.
Okay. Any sports there? Any?
I played soccer for 3 years, but my main sport was basketball.
Oh, okay.
I was a basketball girl.
We might have some video around here.
Oh,
Maybe.
might have to break it out.
What's it like to play in that auditorium? I know what it's like to we sit on the stage when we broadcast the game and we watch it, going this way instead of the usual this way. So it must take some getting used to, right? Well, it definitely gives you a home court advantage.
Yes, I loved playing. That was like my passion in high school.
Yeah.
I still miss it. But it was such a great feeling, playing the sport you love, being with all your friends. You play from like freshman to senior year. I had a great coach at the time. It was Mr. Levy, Eric Levy. I don't know if you remember him.
Yep.
Yeah, I loved it.
What made you decide to go into healthcare?
I knew I wanted to help people in some way, but in high school you don't really know exactly what.
Right.
Because sports, I actually thought I wanted to do athletic training. And I remember talking to our athletic trainer at the time, asking her questions, and she asked me, she's like, if someone dislocated a shoulder, do you think you'd be able to pop it back in on the spot? And I said, absolutely not. She goes, then maybe athletic training is not for you. So that was how I crossed one off my list. And then I thought about nursing, and I was like, I don't know if I can do the blood and all that. And then I remember someone asked me if I ever thought about physical therapy. And I was like, oh, I didn't really know what it was. And then I kind of looked it up. And at the time, no one talked about occupational therapy. So I was leaning more toward physical therapy. And then I went to Springfield College, and I think their PT program was actually full, but someone from the OT department called me and talked about it.
I did want to ask you, what is the difference between occupational therapy and physical therapy, and am I the first person to ever ask you that in your career?
You are not at all. So physical therapy focuses more on strengthening, ambulation, walking, stair training, exercises, all in the goal to make you stronger and independent with mobility. Occupational therapy, we focus more on daily activities, from anywhere from bathing, dressing, toileting, self-feeding, but we also look at many people, what they're doing in their lives, their roles. So it could be if someone's a mother, being able to take care of their kids, cleaning the house. So it's a little more a holistic approach.
Okay. If I remember right, and can you believe it? It's been almost 10 years.
I know.
Since I had the stroke, and I was.
I know. I feel old.
Working with you folks. I remember one time, it must have been with you. There was a little kitchen area, and my assignment that day was to make myself toast. Everything from taking the toast out of the bag, doing a little twisty tie, putting it in the toaster, taking it out, buttering it, and then I think I was ready to get up and move, and if it was you or someone else said, you're not done yet, you got to put your plate in the sink, and so it's those everyday things,
It
right?
is, yeah. And that's like a basic task, but even though we're not looking at how you make toast, you could burn it, we don't care. We're looking at how you move in the kitchen, how you retrieve items, if you're safe, for people using the stove, if they remember to turn the stove off, if, all of those things we're looking at, even though it seems like a simple task.
Right. Do you specialize in one area? I mean, in my case, it was stroke coverage, stroke recovery, but are there other things that you deal with?
Yeah, I deal with many things, but I did when I worked at Spalding as well. I did specialize in strokes there, as well as amputations. So we were on a certain team that most of our patients were either stroke survivors or had a recent amputation. But in home care, it's definitely more broad. I see a more variety of ages and a more variety of diagnoses.
Right. And I would assume every case, well, I know I've learned that no two strokes are alike.
At all.
And I would assume in home care, no situation is the same, right? Because you got to see what they're living in.
Exactly.
Right?
You have to be pretty creative.
Yeah, I remember there was one day, whoever was coming to my home after I recovered, one of the things I had to do was basically just walk around the house, and they wanted to see how I navigated things. And I'll never forget it. We had 2 dogs at the time. So I would walk from the front of my house to the back of my house and back inside. And we had a little, it was me and then dog number 1, dog number 2.
Yep.
So it was a little parade that went through it. And I remember something about moving obstacles out of my way. Excuse me. But then the therapist almost said, well, I have to see how you deal with these obstacles.
Yeah. Yeah, and in home care too, well, in the hospital, we would try to simulate the home as much as we can, but it's different. Everything in the hospital is handicap accessible, open. When you go in the home, it's very different. Even a lot of the times they go into the home, someone's using a walker. The walker does not fit into the doorways.
Right.
So
Right.
you have to learn how to navigate that, especially in the bathroom. So there's so many obstacles in the home, so you try to teach them how to work with what they have, because you can't make everything handicap accessible, So it can be challenging.
Right. Safe Space, is this a company that you're starting?
It is. So last year I became a certified aging in place specialist. The goal is to go into someone's house, do an assessment. It could be anywhere from a temporary fix, or if someone's planning on remodeling their home and want to stay there forever, how to make it more aging in place friendly is the term they like to use now. And it's more of a universal design versus like handicap accessible. Because sometimes people are doing this, they don't have anything going on. They just know they may in the future need some things, So I would go in and kind of make recommendations on how to make it aging in place friendly. But also there's like a design component, so it doesn't look institutionalized, if that makes sense.
Right.
Right. Not these metal grab bars everywhere. You make it a little more welcoming.
Yeah, we've come a long way, haven't we?
We have, yeah.
What are some of the common hazards that you find people dealing with in their house? I know my wife talks a lot about throw rugs.
Throw rugs, cords, kind of lying around, door thresholds. A lot of the older homes, it's not really a seamless transition. They have a bump they have to go over that people trip over. A huge one, though, is poor lighting, which not many people think of it. It's not necessarily a hazard, but it can be. So if you don't have enough lighting in the home, or a lot of the, again, older homes, light switches for rooms are on the inside, which they should be on the outside, so you can pre-light the room before you go in. Throw rugs are a huge one. The bathroom is a sketchy area. A lot of slip and falls in the showers if there's not appropriate gripping on the bottom, or if you don't have the right grab bars in there. A lot of people will use the suction, which give you kind of false sense of security. Same thing with the toilet. If the toilet's not the right height for you, it creates a falling hazard. I'm trying to think, but that's the main ones I would say are the hazards in the home.
I was blessed when I had my stroke. We have a neighbor who is a master carpenter.
Oh.
So I remember my wife had a friend saying, "Oh, you're going to have to move your bedroom down to the first floor because he won't be able." he won't be able to make the stairs. And my wife came to Charlton one day and saw me do my exercises. One of them was stair climbing.
Yeah.
But those stairs had railings on both sides, which my house did not, only one side.
Yep.
So my wife thought, So she called our neighbor, and he put in, I now have railing from downstairs all the way into my bedroom on both sides.
Oh, perfect.
You know, and when she saw that, she was like, well, he can do stairs. He just needs something to hold on to. So is Safe Space, is this helping people design their home?
It is. It's just getting started. So,
Okay.
But yeah, that's the goal. And again, it could be anyone from who suffered some recent medical issues and need kind of like quick fixes. So it could be anywhere from like medical, durable medical equipment they may need. Or again, it could be someone, I had someone reach out, actually, and she was looking to just get a railing installed to go into her basement to make the stairs safer because she couldn't get there. And then I was, asking, I was like, do you feel like there are any other rooms that you feel unsafe in, or you feel it could be adapted? So that's kind of the goal, to make people feel safer and be able to stay at home as long as possible.
That's so
the
big,
goal.
isn't it?
Yeah. And with the market, the housing market, it's not easy for people to move. You know what I mean? The interest rates are high, so I think people are staying in their homes longer, and they want to make it safe as possible to be able to live there as long as they can.
I have to tell this story. I don't know if it was you or one of your colleagues at Charlton, but there was one morning I'm in my room, I have my breakfast, I'm probably still in my shorts and slippers and all this. And someone walked into my room and they were like, good morning, how you doing? And I was just having one of those days, and I said, not so good. I'm just not feeling it today. And either your response or a colleague was, oh, sorry to hear that. Okay, I'll be back in 10 minutes. Get dressed.
Yeah.
I was like, we're not going to take no for an answer.
Exactly.
We've got work to do. Let's do it. It can be hard, right?
It can be very hard. Yeah.
I told you before the show began that I ran into a friend recently who was frustrated because her husband had had a stroke. And I believe it was a year ago. And she said he just gave up. He's given up. He doesn't want to do anything except, sit in his chair and look out the window. And I felt so bad for her because I know that feeling. I mean, there are days, even before I had a stroke, there were days where I didn't feel like doing anything.
Yeah.
Is there any way to motivate someone to say, I'll be back in 10 minutes?
I mean, my biggest thing is always trying to tell the person, do you remember the first day your stroke happened or the week after, and remember where you were at that moment, and then think of where you are now. Because a lot of the times people, we talked about it before, look at, their prior function, what they were doing before the stroke. And it's hard, but you try to get that out of your head because you can't compare yourself. You're a different person now, so try to compare yourself when the stroke first happened and how far you've come now, and look in kind of the instead of the what I can't do attitude, what I can do. Oh, look, I can do this, and I wasn't able to do this before, instead of, oh, I can't do this, Right. And then I do recommend, if it's continuing and they don't want to do anything, like even things that used to bring them joy, discussing it with the doctor, because there could be an underlying depression component to it, because that's very common after kind of any medical diagnosis, and then just keep trying to be supportive, maybe trying to encourage them to do hobbies they used to enjoy.
Okay. That maybe they didn't have time for when they were working. Yeah.
It could be as simple as like a crossword puzzle, or, start with that and then move your way up to something a little more active.
So I would assume you've had patients all over the spectrum as to what their abilities are, right? Is that something you have to think on your feet and you have to, adapt? Okay, we need to focus on doing this or doing that,
Yeah, so someone who's much more compromised, the main goal is it's a little more overlap with PT. So if someone can't stand at all by themselves, I'm not going to really focus on them being able to get their shoes on, we have bigger problems at the moment. So there'll be a little more overlap with PT, and we're like, we just got to get you moving a little better. Then we can focus on maybe getting into the shower, being able to use the bathroom on your own, so we kind of go in steps. Because I'm like, if you can't even stand right now, you're not going to be able to shower on your own, you know? So we focus on those kind of things. Someone who's a little more higher level, like I have a few patients right now who they're very ambulatory, but their hand is lacking a lot of like the fine motor coordination. So we're doing more fun things, you know, like sometimes we'll play games, sometimes we'll do the putty. So there's definitely a broad spectrum of what we work on.
All right. I remember one of the things I had to do, there was at one point I think there was change put on the table and I had to pick up the dimes and put them back.
Yep.
Which
seems
I look back
sometimes
on it now and I'm like, that's silly. Right, silly. But on that day it was a struggle to pick up a dime and move it just a little bit. So.
And that will carry over to everyday things. Like if you're right-handed and take your hand to pick up your pills, that's where, you know, it comes into play, all those things, feeding yourself. There's a method behind our madness.
I know a lot of times and it's funny now that I think about it, the occupational therapist does do more of those unique, interesting little things. You're trying to convince your brain or show your brain how you used to do things.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. I still have issues if I drop something on the floor. I don't know how many people can relate. Now when I drop something on the floor, my first question is, do I really need to pick that up? And chances are the dog's going to eat it, so yes, I need to pick it up. But I still have issues. Is it the pincher grab someone told me once?
Yeah, the pincer.
Pincer? Picking up something this way, a lot of times I'm using different fingers because... Is it wrong to do that?
No.
No.
I'm also a pretty laid back therapist. I'm not really there's a right way or wrong way. I'm more whatever way you can do it safely is kind of what I care about. Of course, I try to focus on that, but I'm realistic too. I want you to be able to function every day, and if a certain way is easier for you, then go for it, you know?
And how does it factor in? I mentioned with you that I did the thing about making toast. And I remember during another rehab situation, an occupational therapist came to my home, excuse me, and he walked in and he said, okay, today you're going to make your wife lunch. And I thought, I'm paying for this? He says, no, I want you to make, and she was there and he's like, Priscilla, what would you like for lunch? And she said, oh, I don't know, a ham and cheese sandwich will be fine. So the occupational therapist was like, okay, make your wife a ham and cheese sandwich. I later realized what he was doing, because a number of things. Thinking, what do I need to get?
Exactly.
Getting it all out. Measuring it. So do you do things like that? And again, is that something that it is in a textbook somewhere, or is that something?
It's not in a textbook, no.
Is that something you would devise?
It's something we would devise, and sometimes we discuss it beforehand with the patients so they're not surprised, but sometimes it's spur of the moment too. I've had patients, I've done laundry with them.
Really? Oh, yeah.
Laundry is a good one to do. Vacuuming, like all those daily activities. I've had people like make out a list for the grocery store. That's a little more of the cognition and planning things out, or I'll have them write down everything they'll need to make like a recipe. I'll write, make sure they can remember the recipe and then carry it out too.
Right. I know one of my daughters, my oldest daughter, when I came home, she was like, hey, why don't you research a recipe every week and then make it?
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so I thought, well, okay, because I never really, I was a typical guy. My cooking was spaghetti and meatballs and peanut butter and fluff. You know, that was it. Now I'm doing fettuccine Alfredo and shrimp Mozambique and all that. But what I realized was she was making me work.
Exactly.
She was making me find something that I would enjoy, that I could make, shop for the ingredients, and then we joke around. In fact, I think my wife posted it on Facebook once that I was making I had her. She said, we gave the stroke guy a butcher knife. What could go wrong, So, but those are things that we need to relearn.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I actually have a funny story. I had a patient when I worked at Charlton. If you remember, there was the gas station with Dunkin' Donuts, like right down the street.
Yes. Yeah.
He was very high level. He was almost ready for discharge. I wrote down the directions on how to get to Dunkin' Donuts, and we walked there. And, you know, he did great. He followed my directions. He ordered what he wanted, came back. But I think I did my job a little too well, because the next morning they told me that he snuck off by himself and went back to Dunkin' Donuts that night.
Yeah, we're not supposed to do that.
No. And I was like, I think you're ready to go home now.
Now, I'm glad you explained the difference between occupational therapy and physical therapy. They both have their needs.
They do, for sure. Some people will joke that PT will get you to the bathroom and then OT will teach you what to do once you're in there. So that's a very easier way to put it, but yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I first heard the name, I thought it had to do with work.
Yeah.
You're going to teach me what, how to drive to work again, and how to do my job.
I've had people, when I tell them, you know, who I am, when I come into their room, they'll say, I don't need you. I don't have a job anymore. I'm retired, you know.
I ask this of everyone I have on the show who you know, has a specialty. Do you get phone calls from like family and friends who are asking you, how can I do, what's a good way to?
Yes.
I sprained my ankle. How do I get around?
I think my father-in-law still might think I'm a nurse, because he asked me many medical, like nursing questions, and I'm like, I don't know those answers.
So you live in a Acushnet?
I live in Acushnet now, yep.
And 2 children. And by the way, I have to point out, I think you're doing remarkably well after dropping your youngest off at, what,
I know.
pre-K was
Her
it
first
today?
day of preschool.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, she did great though, so I'm okay. It's a good distraction.
She did great, but how did Mom do?
I did okay.
Yeah.
You know, she's already been to daycare, but it's a bigger school. It's like the town school now, so it's a big change. But she did great. She walked right in, no tears.
Super. Now, you've been doing this for how long?
Almost 13 years now.
Wow.
I know. It's been a long time.
And it's funny how it's funny how you mentioned, thinking about being a nurse, but I don't know about the blood.
Yeah, exactly.
And also the athletic trainer. I mentioned to you, my daughter's an athletic trainer.
Oh yes, yeah.
She can do that. She can pop a shoulder back in. She's reset a knee right there on the football field.
Exactly. I could never do it. So I'm glad she asked me if I, ahead of time, if I could, because I could not.
But yet you still deal with people who have issues, but
I do. Yeah.
They've already been treated in the hospital for the injury.
They're more medically stable. Yes.
Right. So are there other stories that stick in your mind about, and are you allowed to tell those stories?
Sure. I mean, I don't have to say names or anything. No. Specific stories or?
Yeah. Well, what's been something, a real success that, you took someone from maybe, daily difficulties and they graduated?
Yeah, I have one patient that sticks out in mind. He was a stroke. And he was a young stroke, 30s, had 3 young kids at the time. Yeah, it was heartbreaking.
Are we seeing more of that?
We are.
Okay.
Well, I mean...
Or is it just being reported more? Or
I think... I don't know, actually.
Okay.
I feel like I see more, or maybe just because I'm in the field I see it, but you know what I mean? People still don't hear of it as often. They think it doesn't happen as often, but... I
think I was 54, and I was like, I'm too young to have a stroke.
Yeah,
but
I'm talking
not
30s.
That way anymore.
No.
30s. Yeah.
And I would say a lot of the ones in their 30s are more from blood pressure related and not managing it. But that's not always the case, but the ones I've seen are usually like that. But yeah, this gentleman, he came in, required 2 people to stand, 2 people to do everything, and then he was there for about a month. He was one of the only people I did a home safety eval on at the time. So even though I worked at the hospital, one of our sessions was his wife picked him up. We all drove to his house, did a safety assessment, made sure he could get in and out, and then he was home 4 weeks later. From 2-person assist to walking out of the hospital was his goal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now, you and I touched on this briefly before we started. It must be frustrating dealing with some insurance companies.
Very.
Or all insurance. You were saying that most of them would boot you out of a rehab hospital or whatever after just a few days? Not
a few days, but a couple weeks. But someone who needs 2-person assist, they're not going to recover in 2 weeks, you know?
Right,
I don't work in the hospital anymore, so at home care, insurance is a little different, so it's not as much of a battle, but I still have friends who work, and I'll sometimes get some of their patients, and they tell me that it's getting worse and worse, that insurance are kicking people out much sooner. So they're coming, either they go to another step down rehab from there, or they're forced to go home to an unsafe situation. And that's when it's challenging on my part, because, you know, we try to do our best, but
Right.
sometimes home is really not the best place for them at that time.
What can you do in that situation? Can you go back and say, look, this person's not safe here, they need more time?
Yeah, sometimes they probably won't get back to the acute rehab, which is the, you know, South East Rehab or Spalding, but you can go to like the ER and request rehab placement, and you
Okay.
could go to like a skilled nursing facility that's short term.
Right.
So we've had to do that sometimes, and we just call an ambulance and say they just are not safe at home and cannot be here.
I mentioned in my case, the insurance company we had wanted to kick me out, I think, after 7 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we just, no, I'm not ready.
Mm-hmm.
So my wife was able to go to the vice president of her company at the time, who fought for us, and we ended up with 3 weeks there. So
Yeah.
I guess it's important to have someone to advocate for you.
You definitely do have to advocate, because sometimes you can get a little more time, for sure. Other times, you know, they'll still give the pushback, but
Yeah.
you always should ask.
And there's no sign of that getting better.
I don't think so, unfortunately.
What's one of the biggest challenges for you besides working with insurance companies? What is one of your biggest challenges? Or again, does it depend on the situation?
It depends on the situation. I mean, obviously being in people's homes is challenging, but I guess on a different side, documentation, which no one talked about when I was going to school. Like insurance requires a lot more
Oh, okay.
documentation, and they want, you know, our company's not bad, but some companies push you to document in the person's home, which I don't want to do that. I want to be hands-on. You know what I mean? So
Sure. You don't want to use the time you have.
yeah, I don't want to be sitting there
doing
typing,
paperwork.
asking you questions, and
Right.
documenting half the time. So that's you know, but again, that has to do with insurance too. They want more and more information, and
And they didn't cover that in school, right?
they cover documentation, but they didn't cover how much I was going to be documenting. But I think it's changed a lot in 13 years too. So
Yeah. Do you have any advice for caregivers at home with their loved one? Just
get a good support system. Kind of like when you have kids, what do they say? It takes a village. I would
Yes.
say it takes a village too with being a caregiver, for sure. And then don't be afraid to take time for yourself, because you need it. You don't want to get burnt out.
yeah, I think too many people forget that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, advocate for the person, and reach out to the doctor if anything is concerning.
All right. Thank you so much. So great to see you.
You too.
Yeah,
Thanks for having
thank you so
me.
much for being with us. And ask questions, people.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. That'll do it for today. If you know of someone that you think we should have on, please let me know. You can reach me on Facebook. I'm also on X, and you can find me at the email is thepetebraleyshow@gmail.com. As we always do, we leave you with a thought for the day, and our thought today is life will test you before it will bless you. So hang in there. Don't give up. Until next time, go out and make it a great day.